big straight line all the way across. Spread out. One big straight line all the way across. Spread out. One big straight line all the way across. Spread out. Yeah. Spread out. Spread out.
Basically, if you don't have to,
Spread out.
yeah.
Spread out. Spread out. Spread out.
Susan, spread out. Susan, spread out.
Hello. Hey, my name's Bob Stewart. I'm a high school graduate, also former Marine, also a veteran, also a commander of Post 27. I'd like to thank everybody for attending. I'd like to thank all the veterans with me today. I'd like to thank particularly the police who kind of pulled this together at the last minute. I'm going to get a little miscommunication there. Also like to thank the high school band who supported us for years, done a great job. With that, I'd like to ask our post chaplain to say a brief prayer.
O God of hosts, we bow our heads in thankfulness for the victories thou hast granted us. To us and to those people who have united with us to stamp out the evils of aggression, intolerance, and greed. We beseech thee to bring the blessings of the understanding to the families and sons in this and other lands. And of those who have given their lives that permanently free. Grant, O God, that those closest to the fallen may mingle the pain of their losses with the ennobling light of sacrifice for civilization, sacrifice for a better world, for this and for other generations yet unborn. Grant us too, O God, the courage to so live with a family of nations around the world that the end of strife will be the beginning of enduring peace. Grant us thy patience in planning with our fellow men and women a world in which nations resolve their differences by peaceful means. Touch thou the souls of people in every land with the enduring light of wisdom, so that they may form a brotherhood which will strive to further the art of peace and the laws and ethics blessed by thy love. Grant us now thy continued blessing upon unity and strength, and make victories possible in war, that we may win greater victories of peace. Amen.
Veterans Day was originally called Armistice Day. It was a day conceived as a tribute to Americans who sacrificed their lives in World War I. Now we also honor all American veterans who have served in any war, before or after World War I, to defend democracy. We honor our veterans from every time of peace, for they protect what our war veterans fought and died to defend. We celebrate this day. We honor our veterans today because we know without them there would be no land of the free. In 1968, Navy Corpsman Don Ballard was serving in Vietnam with the 3rd Marine Division. While rendering aid to wounded Marines under heavy enemy fire, a grenade struck his helmet and landed beside him. Without hesitation, Doc Ballard jumped on the grenade to shield the Marines from the impending blast. The grenade, however, did not detonate, and Doc Ballard threw the grenade back into the jungle where it exploded. After a moment of shock, disbelief, counting his blessings, he continued to retreat, working with his casualties. Doc Ballard was nominated to receive the Medal of Honor for his heroism. Initially, the nomination was rejected by a major at high headquarters until a general phoned and asked, "Major, what school teaches people how to identify grenades that don't explode?" The major replied, "General, there is no such school." And they forwarded the recommendation straight to Washington, and Doc Ballard was awarded the Medal of Honor in 1970. And in the humble fashion common among many veterans, he remarked, "It's harder to wear the medal than to earn it." For those who have served, you know that sentiment, that there's always seemed to be a sense amongst our community that someone is always worse off than I am. Doc Ballard returned home when so many others had not. He returned with brothers severely wounded in combat. Some chalked this up to a sense of pride and toughness. Some may call it humility, and still others may even attribute it to a survivor's guilt. But in reality, the men and women of our armed forces are simply a special breed of people. Our military history is filled with stories of bravery and sacrifice. The vast majority of the heroes perished in their attempts to save the lives of others. Doc Ballard, while he walked away that day, was no less courageous and no less deserving of admiration and accolades. His resolve was tested in a way that few will ever experience, and his actions were a testament to the strength of his character. In the fraction of a second he had to choose between saving himself or shielding the Marines nearby, Doc Ballard did not falter. One might say it wasn't even a choice, but rather pure instinct to protect his brothers in arms. While I'm sure Corpsman Ballard was grateful for the opportunity to walk away alive for the remainder of his days, he struggled with being called a hero when he was simply doing his job. He struggled with the memories of men he wasn't able to save and of the friends he lost. If you're a veteran or you know a veteran, I'm sure you've uttered or heard something along these lines. Of no hero, the real heroes are the ones who never came home. So many veterans of eras, both past and present, live with these struggles day in and day out. Their stories and experiences are widely varied, but one clear commonality you will find amongst them is their desire to have given and sacrificed, especially if it meant saving the life of another. I would ask you to keep those men and women in your hearts today. And also to remember the serious emotional and sometimes physical challenges these veterans face when they return home. The American Legion exists to help veterans as well as the community. It's the nation's largest wartime veteran service organization, and it's committed to mentoring youth and the sponsorship of wholesome programs in our communities. We advocate patriotism and promote honor, as well as strong national security. Our Post 27 here in Londonderry donates to a variety of causes to include the VA Hospital, Liberty House, Toys for Tots, Sunshine's Kitchen, Harbor Homes, many others. We work with the Boy Scouts. We have our own baseball team. For those of you at the breakfast this morning, we work very closely with the Pay It Forward team here in town. And I would ask that if anyone knows of any veterans that need any help, regardless if they're from Londonderry or anywhere else, I'd ask you to bring them to our post so that we may help them. Also, if there's any charitable causes that you'd like to have the Legion look at, please feel free to come across the street to behind the fire station. You can get a hold of me. Just leave your name and number and I will find you and we can talk about it. At this time, I'd like to ask any other veterans that are in the audience to step forward and be recognized because this is your day. Come on, Marine. Thank you very much. And as always, as I've said for those who've heard me speak before, as veterans, the thing we most appreciate is to be appreciated, to walk down that street and have people tell you thank you for at a time when you, I know when I joined, that wasn't what I was thinking about at the time, was coming down the street 30 years after I got out of the service. But it does make you feel really good. And I think, again, I've said in the past, when I came home from the Gulf War, there was a huge parade in D.C. that I participated in. But some of my brothers behind me that came home from different conflicts, particularly Vietnam, they didn't have that same thing. So having you all saying thank you to all of us is something we really appreciate. And I'd like to say thanks again for being here. And at this time, I'd like Andy to ask the band to play one more song.